of the Jain philosophy, I shall deal with the two topics, two areas, in a very short and nutshell, for which how science is related. And then you all thinkers have to think with this kind of problem, the issues in society, and vis-a-vis the philosophy of Jainism, how can you bridge the gap? How can you reorient the human society and every element in the society and give that syllabi that everybody undergoing that at least will follow and preach with the practical consciousness of the issue. So I have pinned down few points and shall deal with only two tenets. The one, what is written there, the knowledge comes from learning and wisdom comes from the awakening. That's very much written over there on these days. The second aspect I shall deal with, which has a lot of tangential cutting to many areas, including the environment and the state of affairs today, and that is aparigraha. Do not accumulate wealth. So to deal with the first aspect, some of the thoughts that I have put in without any kind of a reference, and the wisdom the scientists and laboratory thinks, what it originates in the mind, and I believe more in that. You practice yourself, that's how we learn with the advanced laboratories. The syllabi we referred of those scientists who had then done it themselves by that science they had done themselves and written the books. So they came out of practice much better than those who copy what somebody else has done. To deal with the knowledge, the researchers have to acquire the knowledge with the state of art, and scientific research has to be within the established laws of science and nature. You can't say benzene has 7-member rings. You have to have 6-member ring. For example, the crystal has a symmetry, lattice parameters. Accordingly, there are 7 symmetries and 14 lattices. The properties of crystals are innumerable, and we all can see the properties which are known to us very well. I don't think the audience needs to know what is the crystal and what are the properties. Everybody goes to get crazy to buy crystals when particularly when due to European countries. If there are any aberrations, we call them defects in crystal, and even those defects are categorized scientifically to discipline of science, and they can be called Frankel defects, Schottky defects, and vacancies, etc. This has relevance to what I am going to speak further. The Jain philosophy embraces very much on the spiritualism, adhyatma, and even needs to say that it is done ultimately to get moksha. Now, this philosophy does not want any defects in human mind and remain as a community and seek the truth, however it is to be bound by the peace, emotion, non-violence, and many other parameters, unfortunately, which has no dimensions. So can you make a syllabi, the scientific setup, to give a dimension to these thoughts? Can you quantify them? However, we all know the human minds are not definite. We need to discover the theory of spiritualism which can set the minds in a definite arrangement of a society which shall be free from violence, destructions, and the killings. We need to be that part of a spiritualism which can organize the disturbed minds as well, like we have defects in the crystals and we see the properties of the crystals. So similarly, to organize the disturbed minds like defects in solids of the crystals and orient them with a strong spiritual counseling with a scientific base to convert them into useful properties. Without defects, the solids cannot conduct electricity. One must believe the defects in crystals are almost natural and caused by stress and strain, but they are ultimately defined by the principle of science. We need to discover that spiritualism in the tenets of Jainism, which can reorient these minds When the knowledge is known, wisdom has to be imbibed to live life. To give further example, noise and warning somebody said is a bad for a brain and is very hazardous. But the very human society do not use the minimum wisdom in spite of having a knowledge. That unless there is a signal which was bound by the time content, the next vehicle cannot move or the vehicle in front, but still everyone just blowing the horn, creating impact on the public health. There is a knowledge to everyone, but everyone was or is not oriented with a simple philosophy that noise destroys our health. If time comes, the science can use to stop its knowledge, to use to stop the blowing of the horn like mobile jams, but can there be a theory or a philosophy involved which can stop people blowing the horns? If you look back at the crystal, it has definite reflections, refractions, and diffractions to incident light, making a certain definite angle to the incident light, which is again based on the property of the crystal. Science is so well defined. We give the degrees PhD, the Doctor of Philosophy. I don't know how many of us really understand the meaning of this, or we're not taking into consideration the philosophy word. The very institute IIT here, Professor Partha said he would speak on that. When IIT and the students doing highest technology here, they have the subjects, humanities and social sciences, and the papers like first year, second year semester are the science of philosophy and the history of the science. These are the topics these IITians study in their course. The philosophy of science, the science of philosophy, the volumes have been written. That's how they orient the student. Why? Why do they need to do research and why do they need to study technology? Let's come back to an incomplete combustion in the house gives more carbon monoxide. We have been talking about environment, which is very detrimental to health. How fatal it is known by the casualties of theater Bahar and Delhi, killing several people, but still we do not take care of our carburetors in the car and clean chula in the house. These are the knowledge. There is a knowledge to everyone, but there is no wisdom. Lastly, if we speak of a non-violence, and as said yesterday, the plant also has a sense, and I endorse it as a scientist. Why I tell you? If you measure the stress of a food and water conducting body of a plant like xylems and phloems, the people in science would understand, they make a crackling sound when their plant is thirsty, which is not heard by us. But when you connect that to the photoacoustic spectrophotometer, yes, we measure them very well. And you can get a good resolution what is the problem that the plant is facing. And therefore, we cannot hear it, but the nature can tell us, the plant can tell you. In fact, the composition of every material can be resolved with the different kinds of spectra by which the different kinds of spectrophotometers in science always, as these crystals or these materials behave with a discipline, the human being does not. You take any material, it's so organized by nature, and you get a variety of spectrophotometers or spectras, and they tell it is this bond, it is this material, this is this molecule. There are no aberrations if you characterize the material. Can we do that philosophy? Can we bring that science to our exactness of setting the mind of the people? Let us take the case of scientific experiment wherein the scientists make indiscriminate use of material. As in the morning we heard the Jain philosophy or parigraha, or you live with the minimum, the 8 things, okay? Some says that go for 100 so that you consume less. And use of material, be it to the examples like the scientists also have to think of this philosophy. They take lot of material, be it making use of acids in the laboratory, making materials, dissolutions which can be done with the smallest amount, but he does not use it. So contrary, the scientist also does not apply the philosophy of a minimum. I think yesterday, Mr. Justice Dalvir Bhandari said that Jainism is a way of life to give beautiful world. Honorable Minister also said we have to convert knowledge into wisdom. After the discovery of a neutron, immediately there was the fission, then Holocaust of Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Time being limited, I shall not stretch on that issue, but there were disturbed minds in the power. They made Hiroshima, Nagasaki. But if you understand the world peace, probably preachings have helped. The nuclear science being used to give you electricity of many peaceful purposes, peaceful uses. The same energy. When you apply the philosophy of peace and the kindness, it's been throwing light to all of us, and today we're enjoying that power which comes from Tarapur nuclear power plant. So look at this. So the disturbed mind, they use as a bomb, destructive purpose. The peaceful minds can use it for very constructive purpose. And finally, I would say, making the syllabi for this course, postgraduate, research, and so on, I think the 4 parameters given, there's a lot to do and organize a good syllabi for the university teaching and research. Thank you very much.
I now invite Professor Sri Ramamurthy to express his views. Please be brief.
Profound scholar brothers and sisters, we have listened to very eminent scientists, educationists, spiritualists, and also researchers so far. I have prepared a lecture which I cannot cover now, but the headings I will read so that you may know something. My views before I venture on telling something what research we have got to do, what type of research we have got to do, and also what types of topics we have to take up. Because I come from Dayalbagh Educational Institute, Agra. We have been doing this experiment like this. There is science and spirituality. How to bring about the both viewpoints together. And can it be done? It was done in ancient India and it will be done. And only we are struggling to find out the modus operandi. Because we are neither pure spiritualists nor pure scientists. I am sorry to say this because in ancient India, all scientists were rishis and all rishis were scientists. We did not distinguish between metaphysics and physics. These two words this came from Western culture. We did not distinguish. Panini was a rishi, Muni, Munitraya, those who know grammar will understand it. And also Pingala was a first to use binary computing. And so many things are there. I will not go into it now. Now, I thank the spiritual leaders of Jain religion who have been at the behind the organization of this university as well as also this conference and the research courses and everything here, and also their team, which has worked a wonder, I have to say. We have also organized 1-2 conferences. I have been attending the TSC towards science of consciousness, and we are all coming to consciousness. That is my perception. My paper was awakening of higher consciousness as a panacea, as a panacea for all the evils and ills of our mankind. I will read only small portions of it. We are at an unprecedented crisis nowadays because we are seeing poverty in plenty, ignorance amidst explosion of knowledge, estrangement coexisting with enforced closeness, steep decline in values side by side, ostentatious and exuberant religiosity. So many temples were not built in the ancient times. Temple after temple are coming, and so many things are being done, but no peace. And lack of cohesiveness of love in human relations. This is completely getting absent. Natural instincts are suppressed. Emotions are perverted. Man is mechanized. We want a robot, not a man. And suicidal bombers are the products of our age. Now I read only some of the titles of my presentation. Discovery of inner eye. We have to see Preksha, and Jain philosophy, he distinguishes only Pratyaksha and other things. The other philosophers do it differently, Pratyaksha, Anumana and all those things. And they said under Pratyaksha, they include the inner perceptions also. They're like Kevala Jnana, of course, final, and Manaparyaya Jnana and other things and so on and so forth. That is, the direct perception of truth can be had from inside, but not from outside. And then, so we have got to discover our inner eye. And by that, we know our spiritual dimension. Spiritual dimension has no differences. Mind sees only differences. And physically also we see differences. But when we go to the spiritual dimension of ourselves, we see unity only. So we get it easily, as been being told all through, that another jiva and your ajiva also is a product of consciousness, pure consciousness. From pure consciousness only, mind has come, mind has created, as Kapila is said, he created his own body and gave out this Sankhya philosophy. And of all these sadhans that we adopt, yoga sadhans, the Shabda sadhana is the Nam, Jap and other things. That is the most easiest and also most efficacious. So much so, that is why you have Omkar, Namokar mantra, and also Om and etc. attached to Buddhist mantras and also Jain mantras. And also it is said, Sabda Brahmani Nishnataha Parabrahmadhi Gacchati. That is a direct way, because sound is the subtlest form of energy. So sound is energy, it reflects the spiritual dimension of persons. So much so, that is Arahata Shabda, not the words articulated, but the words, the sounds that are resonating inside our body at different centers of our spiritual centers, as they are called, is in our CNS. That is the nervous system, central nervous system, which includes brain also. Brain comes as a part of body, but it's not mind. And then we have all these mantras and other things. I am given immediately the caution. And then I only say that Preksha, Upasana, all these things you have heard, so many of these things. I am just telling you that at Dayalbagh Educational Institute, we are developing consciousness studies and also measurements of these things. Consciousness we cannot measure, but only its effects on the electromagnetic field and other things we can measure, and from that we can be satisfied. But it is only a measurement, but not increasing the consciousness. Now I come to the topic of the panel. That is, I have, as they have given me some guidelines, I have prepared some of them. I am just covering them. Indian epistemologies are enunciated in our darshanas and religious traditions as are far superior to what we are listening from the West. And you know, they have 3 R's: reduction, repeatability, and refutation. And these are being applied for religious research also in our ancient times. And also price and barrel, they have given some paradigms for inner research, experiential research. You see, consciousness research can be only, religious research can be only experiential and experimental, but not experimental in the sense of the science, in the sense in which scientists understand. And so, that is one of the important points I want to drive for want of this time. I will only touch some of the points which I wanted to tell. And another important point I want to tell you that we have to study all our experiments, all our projects, brain-mind interface. That is the actually dark, hard problem, this is called brain-mind interface. They have not come up to mind at all.